Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking about our weekly forecast here from March 29th until April 5th. Now, before we get started with this very exciting video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Now, for today's comment of the day, yesterday I asked you guys if you've experienced a tornado. Today I'm going to be asking you guys, have you ever experienced a hurricane? Let me know some stories from that. It's really interesting to get you guys extreme weather stories. Now let's get into this video. We're going to be taking a look here at last week's temperature forecast. So we're going to be comparing this to what actually happened. Take a look at the Southwest. We were expecting some colder than normal conditions there and very far above normal temperatures there for the Southeast and Deep South, as well as some of the South Central United States like Oklahoma and Texas. Now we're going to take a look at what actually happened in 3, 2, 1. And here you go. I think this forecast did great. We see a lot of warmth there for the Deep South and the Southeast. That's actually 9 to 13 degrees above average, well above normal temperatures there. And if you take a look at the Southwest, we also had below normal temperatures there. The green is indicating areas of 4 to 8 degrees below average, so well below average temperatures for the Southwest as well. Let me know how you think this forecast did in the comments down below, 1 through 10. I'd love to get your feedback there. All right. Now, we're about to get into your very exciting precipitation forecast. I have a lot to talk about there. We actually have like 7 different areas and different layers here to add, so it's just a lot of action here on the precipitation forecast. The temperature forecast is going to be a little bit more simple, but let's get into that precipitation forecast. Now, to start things off, we have more dry than normal conditions here that are expected for the southwestern United States. It's going to be slightly below normal precipitation for this region. You might not really notice it for some regions. It's going to really just depend on where you're at, but definitely on paper you will be below average from California eastward into Nevada and some of the Four Corner states, as well as into a bit of Texas as well. That's all going to be slightly below normal precipitation there. Now, we even have a second layer here to add for the mountains of California out there. That's where we're going to be dealing with moderately below average precipitation, and really it's going to be quite noticeable in these regions. It's going to be well below normal, and you probably will notice it's going to be a very, very dry week for some of these regions. Probably hardly any precipitation at all, if not none. So I think definitely I'm looking at a drier week there for California. Now, we also have a second region with below average precipitation here for Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, and as well as Wyoming. But again, this first layer might not be too noticeable. This is a pretty small region, but the models have been trending at a drier than normal region there, and really most of the storm tracks are dodging that region. So I think up there for Montana, the Dakotas, as well as a bit of Wyoming, we will be dealing with some drier than normal conditions. All right, now we're about to move on and add a few more drier than normal regions, and then we'll start getting to our wetter than normal conditions regions and start talking about some of those areas. All right, so for our next below average precipitation region, this one's going to be for the Ohio Valley into portions of the Mid-Atlantic, and then down for the southeastern United States, as well as portions of southern New England there. These are all areas that are going to be slightly below average precipitation. We might get some thunderstorms at times for some of these regions. Also notice that southeastern Virginia, eastern North Carolina, and then northeastern South Carolina are all in the near average conditions. I'm expecting some storminess there at times. We're going to have some low pressure systems potentially, and also thunderstorms throughout the day today possible for these areas. So that's an area that I think will be a little bit closer to normal there. Let's go ahead and we're going to add our first above average precipitation region. I'm expecting North Dakota through a little bit of South Dakota, mostly there for all of Minnesota, and then a little bit of Wisconsin as well. We're all expecting to see some slightly above average precipitation. We're going to be dealing with a pretty potent storm going on today. By storm, I mean a just low pressure system with lots and lots of rain. And possibly some snow for some regions as well. And then we're going to have some general storminess throughout the week as well for that region. So I think that's why I'm getting the idea that you guys will have above average precipitation there. Now let's go ahead and add our second area, and that's going to be for New England, especially northern New England here. We're going to be dealing with more wet than normal conditions up there as well. Going to be seeing a bit of precipitation, so you are in the above average column there. Now we're about to move on and we're going to start talking about our third region with some above average precipitation, and we will even have a fourth region, and that one will have a second layer. So we're going to get into that, and then we will finally get into our temperature forecast and then our special note segment of the video. All right, so here's our third region, and this one's going to be for Texas, Louisiana, portions of Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee as well, and then Arkansas, where we had a tornado yesterday for Jonesboro. That one was awful. We were streaming during that. That was a very large tornado, obviously. All of us are thinking about what happened there, and we're just hoping that everything is well. I haven't heard of any casualties, so I'm hoping there is none. But it was a lot like our Nashville tornado as well, so we've been having some potent ones so far this year. Southern Missouri is also going to have the above average precipitation, as well as areas in Oklahoma, Kansas, and then up through Nebraska as well. We're all going to be dealing with some above average precipitation. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Northwest as well, where we have our fourth area with above average precipitation. Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Montana are all going to be expecting to see slightly above average precipitation. Again, might not be too noticeable, but on paper you will be. And then also now let's take a look at that second layer here for Washington and Oregon. That's where it's going to be a little bit more noticeable that you have some above average precipitation. So the trend here is that the West Coast is going to be having the most extreme precipitation pattern, and then kind of throughout the central and eastern United States, it's a little bit closer to normal, but we do have some slightly below and slightly above average regions there. All right, now we're about to move on and get into our very exciting temperature forecast. It's going to be an interesting one because a lot of it has to do with how the temperatures are actually going to be today, and then it's going to feel a lot different than what the map is showing you throughout a lot of the week. I'll get into that in just a moment. Now, I know what I just said was probably very, very confusing, but I'll have to explain myself as we move on. But first off, we have above average temperatures expected here for Arizona, New Mexico, and then into a little bit of Texas as well. Again, going to be pretty close to normal. Might not be noticeable, but it will be a little bit warmer than what is typical for this time of year. And we also have this very large area with above average temperatures expected for the eastern half of the country, basically from the central plains and then eastward. We're going to be dealing with some slightly above average temperatures, even dealing with a second layer down here for Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. Very, very close to how last week looked. And now the clarification I need to make here is you guys are probably thinking like, didn't you just say there was a big cool down coming for early April? Like, where is that? So here's the thing. Today is going to be so far above normal. It's going to be so warm today. Get out there. It's so nice. It's 12 p.m. as I'm recording this, so it's already probably warm. Get out there. Pause the video right now and go. But it's going to be very hot in the eastern United States today. And that's going to literally make, on paper, everywhere east of the central United States, like I said, above normal temperatures. But we're going to get into this in the special notes segment of the video, but from Tuesday through Thursday, it's going to be colder than normal, but the warm is going to be so overwhelming today that on paper, it will make us above normal on the entire week. I hope that makes sense or isn't too confusing, but we'll get into that a little bit more in a second. Now, for your below average temperature region here, mostly for the western half of the United States, mostly the Northwest, because obviously we have a little bit in the southern four corner states there that have above average temperatures, but for most of the western United States, we are going to be dealing with some below average temperatures there. And we even have a second layer here for Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming, a little bit of Nevada and Utah included there as well. And that's where it's just going to be moderately below average temperatures, a little bit more noticeable, and actually going to be quite frigid for a lot of these regions. These areas can stay quite cold through April into May even sometimes. So it is going to be quite cold there even this time of year with that big cool down coming up. All right, now let's get into your special note segment of the day, and we only have one special note for you guys today. It's going to be a pretty quiet week, but here it is. We're going to be dealing with that cool down from the 1st through the 3rd of April, and it's going to be a quite pleasant cool down. I'm hoping that it's not going to be too cold because of the fact that I think if it can stay a little bit closer to normal, we won't be dealing with too much damage to any types of plants, even because they've already sprouted. So I'm hoping that everybody's plants in their gardens are going to be okay. It's looking a little bit less cold than initially thought, but it definitely will be below average and a bit of a cool down from the 1st through the 3rd, so be on the lookout for that. But again, on paper, the entire week is going to appear to be above average, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be quite cold for a lot of these regions that I've placed in the blue. Now, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, have you ever experienced a tornado firsthand? And Leo here said a really cool story about when he or she was in Florida and they were on the balcony of a condo and a water spout formed just offshore, and it was only lasted about 10 seconds. I've had a very similar experience, and that's why I picked this comment. I was in the Outer Banks and we were walking along the beach and we just saw 2 water spouts pretty far offshore, but it's just a crazy feeling. It's almost like scary, but you know you're safe because they're so far offshore, but it's really just it's hard to describe that moment. Let me know if you've ever seen a water spout. It's a really interesting feeling. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.